Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the massive warship Stellar Dominion, watching the stars through the giant window. His uniform was covered with medals from dozens of victories across the galaxy. In his 40 years of service, he had never lost a battle. Today would be no different. The communication panel beeped and Captain Sora's worried face appeared on the screen. She was stationed at the outer monitoring post, keeping watch on the edge of known space. Her ship was small compared to Wu Jin's fleet, but her job was important. She watched for new threats and strange activities. "Admiral," Sora said, her voice tight with concern. "I need to report something urgent about the Sol system. The humans are building things we've never seen before." Wu Jin frowned. He had heard about humans before. They were a young species that had just learned to travel between planets. Their technology was simple, their ships were tiny, and they had no experience with real space warfare. The Galactic Council had already decided to take over their system for its rich resources. "What kind of things?" Wu Jin asked, though he didn't sound very interested. Sora's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. Images appeared on the main screen showing the blue planet called Earth. Around it, strange metal structures floated in space. They were huge, much bigger than anything humans should be able to build. These orbital platforms appeared in just 6 months, Sora explained. Each one is the size of a small city. They're arranged in perfect defensive positions around the planet. But that's not the strangest part. More images flashed on the screen. Space stations near other planets. Weapon arrays pointing outward, and ships that looked different from anything in the galaxy's databases. "Their technology doesn't match our records," Sora continued. 3 months ago they had basic metal ships with simple engines. Now they have vessels with energy signatures we can't identify. Something is very wrong here. Commander Hyun-Soo, Wu Jin's tactical officer, laughed from his station. "Captain Sora, you're worrying about nothing. Humans are primitives. They barely learned to leave their planet 50 years ago. Whatever they've built, it can't be a threat to the Galactic Command." Hyun-Soo brought up his own display, showing the fleet's battle plan. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. The humans had maybe 30 ships total, and most of those were cargo vessels. "Look at the numbers, Admiral," Hyun-Soo said confidently. "Our smallest destroyer is bigger than their largest battleship. Our weapons can punch through any armor they might have. This will be over in less than an hour." Sora's expression grew more serious. "Admiral, I've been monitoring their communications. They have a military leader named General Tae Ho. He's been coordinating something called Project Earthwall across their entire planet. Every nation on Earth is working together on this project. That's never happened in their history. Desperate people do desperate things," Wu Jin said with a wave of his hand. "They know we're coming, so they're trying to look strong. It won't work." "Sir, I'm picking up energy readings that don't make sense," Sora pressed on. "The power sources on those orbital platforms are generating more energy than our best reactors. How is that possible for a species that just discovered nuclear power?" Hyun-Soo pulled up another chart. "Captain, you're reading the sensors wrong. Primitive species often create energy signatures that look bigger than they are. It's probably just inefficient engines creating heat and radiation." But Sora wouldn't give up. "Admiral, I request permission to make contact with the humans before we attack. Something about this situation feels wrong. They've changed too much, too quickly." Wu Jin's patience was running out. The Galactic Council had given him clear orders. Take the Sol system. Use whatever force was necessary. Don't waste time with diplomacy. "Captain Sora, you're stationed at a monitoring post, not a diplomatic vessel," Wu Jin said firmly. "Your job is to watch and report, not to make policy decisions. The Council has decided that humans are a potential threat to galactic peace. They must be brought under our control." "But Admiral, no more discussion," Wu Jin cut her off. "Return to your post and maintain communication silence. We don't want the humans to know we're coming until it's too late." The screen went dark, and Sora's worried face disappeared. Hyun-Soo smiled and returned to his battle preparations. "Smart decision, Admiral," Hyun-Soo said. "Captain Sora has always been too careful. She sees threats where none exist. The humans are just another primitive species that needs guidance from their betters. Wu Jin nodded, but something nagged at the back of his mind. In all his years of service, Sora had never been wrong about a potential threat. Her caution had saved many lives in past conflicts, but the evidence was clear. Humans were weak and the Galactic Command was strong. "Signal the fleet," Wu Jin ordered. "All ships prepare for hyperspace jump to the Sol system, battle stations, in 30 minutes." Across the massive fleet, 200 warships hummed with activity. Crews ran to their positions, weapons powered up and shields activated. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a continent. Together, they could reduce entire worlds to dust. The Stellar Dominion led the way as the fleet entered hyperspace. The journey to Earth would take 6 hours. Wu Jin expected the humans to surrender as soon as they saw the size of his force. Most species did. It was much easier than fighting a war they couldn't win. But as the fleet traveled through the strange space between stars, long-range sensors began picking up unusual readings from the Sol system. The human defensive positions were even larger than Sora had reported. Stranger still, they seemed to be growing. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting massive construction activity around the human moon. They're building something big." "How big?" Wu Jin asked. "The structure is—" "Well, sir, it appears they're building something inside the moon itself. The energy output is enormous." Hyun-Soo checked his own readings and frowned. "That can't be right. The humans don't have the technology for planetary engineering projects." As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, Wu Jin's confidence began to waver. The sight before him was nothing like what they had expected. Earth's moon wasn't just fortified. It bristled with weapons and energy collectors that stretched across its entire surface. Massive structures connected the planets in a web of defensive installations. And strangest of all, space itself seemed to shimmer around the human positions, as if reality was bending somehow. "Admiral," the communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving a message from the humans." "Put it through." A calm voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect galactic standard, the language used by all advanced civilizations. "This is General Taeho of Earth's United Defense Force. Welcome to the Sol system, Admiral Wu Jin. We've been expecting you." Admiral Wu Jin stared at the main screen in shock. The human who called himself General Taeho looked completely calm. He sat in what appeared to be a command center built inside the moon. Behind him, dozens of human officers worked at control, stations that hummed with unknown technology. "You know who I am?" Wu Jin asked, trying to keep his voice steady. General Taeho smiled. It wasn't the expression of someone facing certain defeat. "Of course, Admiral. We've been monitoring your fleet since you left your home base 3 weeks ago. We know the names of all your ship captains, your battle tactics, and your preferred strategies for planetary conquest." Commander Hyun-Soo whispered urgently to Wu Jin. "Sir, that's impossible. Our communications are encrypted with quantum security. No one can break those codes." Taeho seemed to hear the comment despite the whisper. "Commander Hyun-Soo, your quantum encryption is indeed very good. Unfortunately for you, we developed quantum computers that can break any code in the galaxy. About 2 months ago, we've been reading your messages like children's books." The bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen in disbelief. "Now," Taeho continued, "let's discuss why you're here. The Galactic Council wants our solar system because of our mineral resources and strategic location. You have 200 warships and expect us to surrender without a fight, is that correct?" Wu Jin found his voice. "General Taeho, I admire your courage, but you must see reason. Your entire species is no match for the Galactic Command. Surrender, now, and your people will be treated well under our rule." "I appreciate the offer," Taeho said politely, "but we must decline. You see, we've prepared a small demonstration for you. I think you'll find it educational." The screen switched to show space around the galactic fleet. Lieutenant Dong Wu, the communications officer, suddenly looked up from his station with alarm. "Admiral, I'm picking up massive energy spikes from the human installations. Power levels are off the charts." Dr. Jiwon, the fleet's science officer, studied her instruments with growing concern. "Sir, those aren't defensive shields charging up. The energy patterns are completely different from anything in our databases." On the main screen, one of the human orbital platforms began to glow. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a space station, but it moved with impossible precision to face the galactic fleet. "Admiral," General Tejo's voice returned, "I should mention that we've read your species' entire military manual. We know exactly how you fight, what weapons you use, and how your shields work. Unfortunately for you, you know nothing about how we fight." Commander Hyun-soo tried to maintain his confidence. "General, whatever weapons you have can't penetrate our armor. Our shields can stop anything your primitive technology can produce." "Primitive?" Tejo chuckled. "Commander, let me show you what primitive looks like." The human platform fired, but it wasn't a normal energy beam or missile. Instead, space itself seemed to bend around the weapon's target. A squadron of 12 galactic fighters that had moved too close to the human positions. The fighters didn't explode. They didn't burn. They simply crumpled like paper balls as gravity increased around them by thousands of times. In seconds, 12 advanced warships were compressed into a sphere of twisted metal barely 10 meters across. Dr. Ji-won's hands shook as she read her instruments. "Admiral, that wasn't a weapon. That was a localized gravity field. They somehow created a miniature black hole and controlled it precisely." "Impossible," Hyun-soo whispered. "Gravity manipulation is theoretical. No species has ever mastered it." "No species you know about," Tejo corrected. "Humans have a saying, Commander. Necessity is the mother of invention. When we learned that hostile aliens were planning to invade our home, we became very inventive very quickly." Captain Mi Young, leading the fleet's elite strike wing, spoke up from her ship. "Admiral requesting permission to engage. Whatever trick they used, they can't do it to our entire fleet at once." "Permission granted," Wu Jin said grimly. "All fighters, attack the human positions. Show them what real space combat looks like." 50 of the galaxy's best fighter craft screamed toward the human defenses. Their pilots were veterans of countless battles. Their ships equipped with the most advanced weapons in known space. The human response was swift and terrifying. Instead of firing more gravity weapons, the orbital platforms activated something else entirely. Reality around the attacking fighters began to shimmer and twist. The ships suddenly found themselves unable to move faster than light, trapped in normal space like insects in amber. "What's happening to my engines?" Captain Mi Young called out in panic. "I can't engage hyperdrive. Something is blocking the quantum field generators." Lieutenant Na Ray, a young human officer visible on the Lunar Command Center screens, spoke. "Up. You're experiencing our reality anchors, Captain. They create zones where the laws of physics become very strict. No faster-than-light travel, no quantum tunneling, no temporal manipulation, just plain old normal space. More human weapons. Activated. These weren't energy beams or missiles, but devices that seemed to bend the rules of existence itself. Some fighters found their atomic bonds becoming unstable, causing their hulls to simply fall apart. Others discovered that time moved differently, around them, aging years in seconds. Captain Mi Young barely escaped when her wingman's ship suddenly aged 1,000 years and crumbled to dust. She retreated to the main fleet, her voice shaking as she reported. "Admiral, they're not using conventional weapons. They've somehow weaponized fundamental forces. Gravity, time, atomic bonds, quantum mechanics. They're treating the universe like a toolbox." Dr. Ji-won studied the sensor readings from the attack. "Sir, this is beyond anything we thought possible. Most of these technologies shouldn't even exist. How can a species that just achieved spaceflight understand the universe better than civilizations that have studied science for thousands of years?" General Tejo appeared on the screen again. "Dr. Ji-won, that's an excellent question. The answer is simple. Your civilizations have spent thousands of years perfecting existing technology. You've become very good at building better versions of the same things. Humans, on the other hand, have spent the last 50 years asking a different question." "What question?" Wu Jin found himself asking despite his fear. Not how do we build better weapons, but what if the universe itself could be our weapon? Taeho explained. While your species focused on bigger ships and stronger armor, we focused on understanding the fundamental forces that hold reality together. And then we learned to break them. Commander Hyun-soo looked at his battle display in despair. Already they had lost 60 ships to weapons that shouldn't exist. The remaining fleet was trapped in normal space, unable to retreat or use their superior speed. Admiral, the sensor officer called out. Long-range scans show more human installations throughout the solar system. They've weaponized asteroids, turned gas giants into power sources, and... Sir, I think they've done something to the sun itself. On the screen, General Taeho nodded. Very observant. Yes, we've made some modifications to our solar system. After all, if we're going to fight a war, we might as well use every tool available. Admiral Wu Jin realized with growing horror that they hadn't entered a star system to conquer a primitive species. They had flown directly into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history, built by the most dangerous enemy the galaxy had ever faced, and now they were caught with nowhere to run. General Taeho stood up from his command chair in the lunar base and walked closer to the camera. Behind him, the massive control room buzzed with activity as human officers monitored hundreds of screens showing the trapped alien fleet. Admiral Wu Jin, Taeho said calmly, I think it's time you understood what you've walked into. This isn't just a battle. This is 50 years of human preparation coming together in one perfect moment. The main screen changed to show a timeline. Images of early human space exploration appeared. Primitive rockets, simple space stations, and small research outposts. 50 years ago, we detected your first survey probes entering our solar system, Taeho explained. We realized we weren't alone in the universe. We also realized that any species capable of interstellar travel was far more advanced than us. Commander Hyun-soo interrupted, desperation in his voice. General, this is madness. You can't fight. The entire Galactic Command. We have millions of ships, billions of soldiers, and weapons that can destroy stars. Taeho smiled again. Commander, that's exactly what we were counting on. You see, humans have always been very good at one thing. Fighting opponents who are bigger, stronger, and more advanced than we are. It's what we do best. The timeline showed rapid advancement in human technology. Colonel Jin Ho, Earth's chief strategic planner, appeared on a smaller screen from another command center. Admiral, let me explain our strategy, Jin Ho said. We call it the Terran Doctrine. Simple principle. If you can't match your enemy's strength, don't try to. Instead, become something they can't understand or predict. More images flashed by. Human scientists working in laboratories, engineers building impossible machines, and test sites where new weapons bent reality itself. While your species spent centuries perfecting conventional space warfare, we spent 50 years asking different questions. Jin Ho continued. What if space itself could be weaponized? What if we could control gravity, time, and atomic forces? What if we could turn the universe's own laws into our allies? Admiral Wu Jin felt sick as he began to understand. You planned all of this. Everything we've seen, everything we've experienced, it was all prepared in advance. Every single detail, confirmed Engineer Soo Jin from another screen. She was a young woman standing next to what looked like a massive machine that hummed with impossible energy. We've been tracking Galactic Command movements for decades. We know your ship designs, your battle tactics, your weakness, and your psychology. Dr. Ji-won looked up from her science station with growing alarm. Admiral, I'm detecting massive quantum disturbances throughout the solar system. It's like they've created a web of connected devices spanning billions of kilometers. Captain Yuri appeared on the communication screen from deep space. Her ship was small but surrounded by strange energy fields that made it nearly invisible to sensors. Dr. Ji-won is correct, Yuri said. For the past 20 years, we've been placing quantum beacons at specific points throughout local space. They create a network that allows us to monitor and control everything that happens within 50 light-years of Earth. 50 light-years? Wu Jin gasped. That covers dozens of star systems. Exactly, Yuri replied. We've been watching your empire's expansion for decades. We know where your supply lines run, where your military bases are located, and how your communication networks operate. This isn't just a defensive operation, Admiral. It's an intelligence-gathering mission that has lasted half a century. The truth began to dawn on the alien fleet. They hadn't just encountered a primitive species. With lucky technology, they had stumbled into the web of the most dangerous intelligence network in the galaxy. Commander Bora, one of Wu Jin's most experienced officers, spoke up from her battleship. Admiral, requesting permission to attempt a direct assault on the human lunar base. If we can take out their command center, we might be able to disrupt their coordination. Permission granted, Wu Jin said grimly. All ships, focus fire on the moon. Bora's ship led a desperate charge toward Earth's moon, followed by 30 of the fleet's most powerful warships. Their combined firepower could level continents, and their shields could withstand almost any defensive fire. But as they approached the moon, Lieutenant Nare's voice came through the communication system. Commander Bora, I wouldn't recommend that course of action. You see, we've made some modifications to our moon over the past few decades. The lunar surface began to change. What the aliens had thought were weapon installations were actually just the visible parts of a much larger system. The entire moon had been converted into a single massive weapon. Mass drivers, Nare explained cheerfully as if discussing the weather. We've built electromagnetic launchers that run completely through the moon from North Pole to South Pole. They can accelerate projectiles to nearly the speed of light. The moon fired, but instead of energy beams or missiles, it launched chunks of rock and metal the size of mountains. Each projectile was accelerated to incredible speeds and guided by quantum targeting systems that made missing impossible. Commander Bora's ship tried to dodge, but the projectiles weren't just fast, they were smart. Each one adjusted its course in real time, tracking its target with perfect accuracy across thousands of kilometers. The alien ship's shields flared and failed as continent-sized rocks moving at relativistic speeds smashed into them. The impact energy was so enormous that some ships simply vanished in balls of plasma. Impossible, Bora whispered as her damaged ship limped back to the main fleet. They turned their entire moon into a weapon. Who does that? Humans. General Tejo answered simply. When we decide to fight, we don't hold anything back. Every resource, every idea, every piece of technology gets turned into a tool for victory. Admiral Wu Jin looked around his bridge at his terrified officers. Half his fleet was destroyed or damaged, and they were still trapped in normal space by the human reality anchors. General, he said quietly, what do you want from us? An excellent question, Tejo replied. Lieutenant Nare, please send Admiral Wu Jin our complete analysis of Galactic Command's military capabilities. Nare's fingers moved over her controls, and data began flowing to the alien ship. Dr. Jiwan's eyes widened as she read the information. Admiral, she whispered, they know everything. Ship designs, crew numbers, supply routes, communication codes, command structure. This is our entire military database. How is that possible? Hyun-Soo demanded. Captain Yuri answered from her deep space position. Commander, for 50 years we've been intercepting every communication your empire has sent. We've analyzed every piece of technology, studied every battle, and learned from every victory and defeat. We know the Galactic Command better than the Galactic Command knows itself. The scope of human preparation was becoming clear. This wasn't just a defensive operation. It was the culmination of the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. General, Admiral Wu Jin said slowly, you're not just defending your planet. You're preparing to destroy our entire civilization. Tejo shook his head. Admiral, destruction was never our goal. But change? Yes, we're definitely planning to change some things. You see, we've been studying your empire for 50 years and we've noticed some problems that need fixing. What problems? Wu Jin asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. That, Tejo said with a slight smile, is a conversation for another time. Right now, I have a message that needs to be sent to Galactic Command Headquarters. The screen changed to show a communication array built into an asteroid. Its signal was so powerful it could reach across the galaxy in minutes. "This message will inform your leaders that the age of easy conquest is over," Tejo said. "From now on, the galaxy has new rules." High Admiral Jamin paced back and forth in the Galactic Council chamber, his boots clicking against the polished metal floor. The massive room was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds, all talking at once in dozens of different languages. The noise was overwhelming, but Jamin barely noticed. His mind was focused on the impossible message that had arrived 3 hours ago. "Silence!" he roared, and the great hall fell quiet. "We are here to discuss the situation in the Sol system. Admiral Wu Jin's fleet has been neutralized by a primitive species that barely knows how to build spaceships." Senator Do Hyun stood up from his seat among the War Council members. He was an old soldier who had fought in more battles than most people could count. "High Admiral, with respect, that's impossible," Do Hyun said firmly. "One planet cannot defeat 200 of our best warships. There must be some mistake in the communications." Major Yunji stepped forward from the intelligence section. She was young but brilliant, and she carried a data pad filled with disturbing information. "Senator, I wish that were true," Yunji said. "But I've analyzed all the sensor data from Admiral Wu Jin's fleet before they lost contact. The humans have technology that our science officers say shouldn't exist." She activated a holographic display that showed the battle in the Sol system. The council members watched in shocked silence as human weapons created gravity wells, bent time, and manipulated the basic forces of the universe. "How is this possible?" demanded Council Leader Minho. "Our records show that humans discovered fire only a few thousand years ago. They built their first spaceship less than a century ago." Major Yunji highlighted several sections of the battle recording. "Sir, that's what makes this so frightening. The humans didn't advance their technology, gradually like every other species. They made sudden jumps in capability that our scientists can't explain." Dr. Young Soo, the council's chief scientist, had been studying the data for hours. His face was pale with worry. "Council Leader," Young Soo said slowly, "I've been analyzing the energy signatures from human weapons. They're not just advanced. They're adaptable. The weapons seem to learn and improve during combat." "What do you mean?" Jamin asked. "I mean that human technology doesn't just counter our weapons, it studies them and becomes better. Every time we fire at their positions, their defenses become stronger. It's like fighting an enemy that evolves in real time." The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs. The idea of an enemy that became more dangerous during battle was terrifying to species that had relied on superior technology for thousands of years. Captain Wan Ho entered the chamber and saluted the High Admiral. He commanded the rescue fleet that had been sent to help Wu Jin's trapped forces. "High Admiral," Wan Ho reported, "I have disturbing news from the Sol system. The human influence extends far beyond their home planet." Wan Ho activated his own display, showing star maps of local space. Red markers indicated human activity across dozens of systems. "These are quantum beacons," Wan Ho explained. "The humans have somehow deployed monitoring stations throughout this entire region of space. They can track our ship movements across 50 light years. 50 light years, Do Hyun gasped. "That covers our entire outer defense network." "Yes, sir," Wan Ho confirmed. "We think they've been watching us for decades. They know our patrol routes, our supply schedules, and our military capabilities better than we do." Ambassador Hae-in spoke up from the diplomatic section. She had spent her career managing relations with newly discovered species, but nothing had prepared her for this situation. "High Admiral," Hae-in said carefully, "I've been receiving communications from our colonial governors. Word of the Sol system defeat is spreading. Some of our subject species are beginning to ask questions about our military strength." "What kind of questions?" Jamin asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. "They're asking if the Galactic Command can still protect them," Hae-in replied. "Some are wondering if they should seek protection elsewhere. A few have even sent secret messages to the humans, asking about trade agreements." The political implications hit the Council like a physical blow. The Galactic Command's power wasn't just based on military strength. It was based on the belief that their military was invincible. If that belief cracked, their entire empire could collapse. Dr. Young-Soo brought up more analysis data. Hi, Admiral. There's something else you need to know. The human message included technical specifications for some of their weapons. I've studied them, and I believe we're dealing with something unprecedented. Explain, Jamin ordered. The humans haven't just discovered new technologies, Young-Soo said. They've discovered new ways of thinking about technology. They approach scientific problems completely differently from any known species. Young-Soo showed mathematical equations that made no sense to traditional galactic science. Most species advance by improving existing tools, he continued. Better engines, stronger weapons, tougher armor. But humans seem to ask fundamental questions about the universe itself. Instead of building better weapons, they ask, what if reality could be our weapon? Major Yoonji added her own disturbing discoveries. Hi, Admiral. Our intelligence analysis suggests the humans have been studying us for much longer than we realized. They've intercepted our communications, analyzed our technology, and learned our weaknesses. She displayed a chart showing Galactic Command's military structure. This is our own strategic database, Yoonji said. The humans sent it back to us, with corrections and improvements. They understand our military organization better than our own generals do. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just defeated one fleet. They had systematically studied and understood the entire Galactic Command civilization. Captain Wonho delivered the final piece of bad news. Hi, Admiral. Long-range sensors have detected human ships moving beyond the Sol system. They're not retreating. They're advancing toward our territory. How many ships? Jamin demanded. Unknown, sir. Their technology makes them nearly invisible to our sensors. We only detected them because they wanted us to. Council Leader Min-ho stood up, his face grim with realization. Hi, Admiral. We're not dealing with a defensive action anymore. The humans are preparing to take the offensive. What are their demands? Do-hyun asked. Ambassador Hye-in consulted her datapad. They've requested a diplomatic meeting with our highest leadership. They say they have terms to discuss. Terms? Jamin laughed bitterly. They want us to negotiate with them? Hi, Admiral, Hye-in said quietly. I don't think we have a choice. If they can defeat our best fleet and monitor our entire military network, what happens if they decide to attack our home worlds? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. For 1,000 years, the Galactic Command had been the strongest force in known space. They had never faced an enemy that could threaten their core territories. Dr. Young-Soo brought up one final analysis. Hi, Admiral. Based on what we've seen of human capabilities, I believe they could systematically dismantle our entire civilization if they chose to. Their reality manipulation weapons could destabilize our planets. Their quantum technology could disrupt our communications, and their adaptive systems could counter any defensive measures we might develop. How long would it take them? Jamin asked quietly. If they wanted to destroy us completely, Young-Soo calculated rapidly, maybe 6 months. If they wanted to capture our territory intact, perhaps 2 years. The Galactic Council, rulers of thousands of worlds and billions of beings, sat in stunned silence as they realized they were no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. Major Yoonji received a priority message on her communication device. She read it quickly and looked up with alarm. Hi, Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the Sol system. General Tae-ho is requesting permission to send a diplomatic representative to our capital world. A representative? Jamin asked. Yes, sir. He's requesting safe passage for a human delegation to discuss what he calls the future of galactic civilization. High Admiral Jamin looked around the council chamber at hundreds of worried faces. The age of easy conquest was indeed over, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen anything like it. General Tae-ho walked calmly down the center aisle, flanked by 2 human guards who seemed completely relaxed, despite being surrounded by thousands of alien officials. His simple military uniform looked plain compared to the elaborate robes and ceremonial armor worn by galactic leaders, but his confidence filled the entire room. Behind him, Captain Sora followed as his appointed liaison. She had requested transfer from her monitoring station to serve as a bridge between human and alien forces. Her warnings about human capabilities had been proven correct, and now she was one of the few aliens that the humans trusted. High Admiral Jamin stood at the central podium, trying to maintain his dignity despite the fact that his entire fleet was still trapped in the Sol system. The human ships that had escorted Taiho's diplomatic vessel had penetrated every orbital defense around the capital world without being detected until they chose to reveal themselves. General Taiho, Jamin said formally, "You requested this meeting to discuss terms. The Galactic Council is prepared to listen." Taiho smiled and activated a small device that projected a holographic display visible throughout the chamber. It showed a detailed map of the galaxy with thousands of worlds marked in different colors. "High Admiral Council members, thank you for agreeing to meet with us," Taiho began. "I want to start by addressing the question I know you're all thinking. What do the humans want?" He touched the holographic display and it zoomed in to show recent Galactic Command military operations. Conquered worlds, subjugated populations, and resource extraction operations appeared in red across dozens of systems. "For 50 years we've been watching your empire expand across the galaxy. We've seen how you treat species that can't defend themselves. We've studied your methods of conquest and your systems of control." Council Leader Minho interrupted. "General, if you're here to lecture us about morality, you're wasting everyone's time. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Weak species need protection, and strong species provide it." "An interesting perspective," Taiho replied. "Captain Sora, would you please share your analysis of Galactic Command expansion patterns?" Sora stepped forward and activated her own datapad. Charts and graphs appeared showing conquest statistics over the past century. "Council Leader," Sora said respectfully, "my analysis shows that Galactic Command has conquered 47 species in the last 100 years. Of those, 31 were peaceful civilizations that posed no threat to anyone. They were conquered purely for their resources or strategic locations. That's how empires work," Senator Do-hyun said defensively. "Resources must be managed efficiently, and strategic positions must be controlled." General Taiho nodded thoughtfully. "Senator, that's exactly the problem we're here to discuss. You see, humans have a different perspective on how galactic civilization should work." The holographic display changed to show human analysis of galactic trade, communication, and scientific development patterns. "Dr. Ji-won, please join us," Taiho said. The alien scientist who had been aboard Admiral Wu-jin's fleet appeared on a communication screen. She had been released as part of Taiho's diplomatic gesture and was now working with human scientists in the Sol system. "Council members," Dr. Ji-won said, "I've spent the past month studying human approaches to scientific and social development. Their methods are unlike anything we've ever seen." She displayed comparison charts showing technological advancement rates across different species. "Most galactic civilizations, including our own, advance at steady, predictable rates," Ji-won explained. "We improve existing technologies gradually over centuries, but humans don't work that way. They make sudden breakthrough discoveries by asking questions no one else thought to ask." Engineer Su-jin appeared on another screen from her laboratory, on Earth's moon. "Dr. Ji-won is correct. Humans approach problems differently because we've never had the luxury of superior technology. We've always had to be creative to survive." "What does this have to do with galactic politics?" demanded Ambassador Heian. Taiho touched the holographic display again, and it showed projections of future galactic development under different scenarios. "Ambassador, imagine what galactic civilization could accomplish if every species was encouraged to reach their full potential instead of being conquered and controlled. What if we shared knowledge freely instead of hoarding it? What if we worked together instead of fighting over resources?" "Idealistic nonsense," High Admiral Jamin said bluntly. "Cooperation only works when everyone has the same level of technology and military power. Without a strong central authority, the galaxy would descend into chaos." "Would it?" Taiho asked. He gestured to Captain Sora. "Captain, please tell the Council about your experiences working with human officers over the past month." Sora looked around the chamber nervously, then took a deep breath. Council members, I've watched humans coordinate the defense of their entire solar system, using methods that our military doctrine says should be impossible. Explain, Jamin ordered. They have no central command structure in the way we understand it, Sora said. Instead of rigid hierarchy, they use flexible cooperation. Every officer is trained to make independent decisions, but they all work toward the same goals. It's like watching a school of fish move together. No single leader, but perfect coordination. Lieutenant Nare appeared on the communication system from the Lunar Command Center. Captain Sora is describing something humans call distributed leadership. Instead of concentrating all decision-making power in one person, we train everyone to lead when necessary. And this works? Senator Do-hyun asked skeptically. Senator, Taeho replied, it defeated your entire invasion fleet. The reminder of their military defeat silenced the chamber. Taeho continued his presentation, showing detailed proposals for restructuring galactic civilization. Here are our terms, he said. First, immediate end to all expansionist military operations. No more conquest of peaceful species. Impossible, Jamin protested. The Empire needs resources to function. Second, Taeho continued, establishment of voluntary trade agreements with all species. Resources shared through negotiation, not force. The logistics alone would be a nightmare, complained Economic Minister Kyung-ho. Third, creation of a new galactic communication network that allows all species to share scientific discoveries and cultural knowledge freely. You're describing the collapse of our entire system of government, Council Leader Minho said. Fourth, Taeho said calmly, recognition of Earth's sovereignty and our right to defend other species from unprovoked aggression. The chamber erupted in angry voices. The aliens argued among themselves in dozens of languages, their universal translators struggling to keep up with the chaos. Commander Hyun-soo, who had been released along with other survivors of the Sol system battle, stood up from the observer section. General, he said loudly, what you're proposing would require the Galactic Command to give up everything we've built over 1,000 years. Why should we agree to that? Taeho's expression became serious for the first time. Commander, because the alternative is the end of your civilization. The chamber fell silent. Let me be very clear, Taeho continued. Humans don't want to conquer the galaxy. We don't want to destroy your species. But we will not allow you to continue conquering and oppressing other civilizations. He activated another display showing human military capabilities that had not been revealed during the Sol system battle. What you saw at Earth was a defensive demonstration, he explained. We have offensive capabilities that we haven't used yet. Reality manipulation weapons that could destabilize your homeworlds. Quantum viruses that could destroy your communication networks. Temporal devices that could erase your colonies from history itself. The alien leaders stared in horror at weapons that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. But we don't want to use these weapons, Taeho said. We'd rather build a better galaxy together. High Admiral Jamin looked around the chamber, at hundreds of worried faces. His empire was facing a choice between cooperation and destruction. General, he said slowly, if we agree to your terms, what guarantee do we have that humans won't use their superior technology to conquer us later? Captain, Sora answered before Taeho could speak. High Admiral, I've studied human psychology and culture for months. They genuinely believe that diversity makes civilization stronger. They want allies, not subjects. The decision is yours, Taeho said. But I should mention that several species have already contacted us about forming defense partnerships. The galaxy is changing whether you participate or not. Council Leader Minho conferred quietly with other leaders, then stood up. General Taeho, the Galactic Council requests a recess to consider your proposals. This decision will affect billions of lives across thousands of worlds. Of course, Taeho agreed. But please don't take too long. Every day you delay is another day that peaceful species live in fear of your expansion. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Captain Sora approached General Taeho. General, do you really think they'll agree to change their entire civilization? Taeho smiled. Captain, humans have a saying, adapt or die. The galaxy is about to learn what that means. 3 days later, the Galactic Council,